Just imagine you're a 16-year-old high school sophomore, and you're not only the #1 player in your class, but you're considered the best high school player in the entire country regardless of age. You were several years younger and considered better than future #1 picks Cade Cunningham and Paolo Banchero. You were so good that in the year 2020, scouts agreed that if the NBA rules allowed it, they would take you #1 in the draft ahead of Anthony Edwards and LaMelo Ball. That was reality for Emoni Bates, a truly generational NBA prospect who Sports Illustrated anointed the best high school player since LeBron James. As written on the cover, Magic, Mike, LeBron, and the 15-year-old who's next in line. To put this into perspective, only 3 high school players have ever featured on the cover. LeBron James went #1, and Jabari Parker and Andrew Wiggins, who were the top 2 picks in 2024 and expected to be the LeBron and Carmelo Anthony of their generation. Emoni Bates was supposed to be the #1 pick in the 2023 NBA draft. One of the top recruiting sites in their way too early 2023 mock draft predicted a change in eligibility rules which would allow players to go straight from high school to the NBA. This would have made the 2023 draft the most loaded in recent history, because it would have included players from both the 2022 and 2023 draft class. Jabari Smith Jr., the second pick in 2022, was 11. Chet Holmgren, the #1 player in high school and top 3 pick in 2022, was number 6. Paolo Banchero, the #1 pick in the 2023 draft, was number 3. At number 2 was Victor Wembanyama, who was labelled the greatest prospect in the history of professional sports, and top of the list at #1 was Emoni Bates. That's how highly regarded he was within the grassroots basketball scene. And here we are many years later. Victor Wembanyama is considered the future face of the NBA, best player in the league under 25 years old, and Emoni Bates isn't even in the NBA. When we talk about the biggest NBA busts, people tend to look at draft order. #1 picks like Markelle Fultz and Anthony Bennett. But expectation matters, and in terms of not living up to the hype, going from arguably the greatest high school player ever to not even making an NBA roster has to be one of the biggest fall-offs in basketball history. How did this happen? Well, we will break down the rise and fall of Emoni Bates in this video like never before and understand what went wrong for a young individual who seemed destined for superstardom.
Because you have 2 small guards that's the same size, right? And then you have Emoni Bates. When you can just slide Emoni Bates to the 2, now you have a big 2 guard. If he shows what he can show, one of them guards is gone. One of them guards is gone.
So why all the hype surrounding Emoni Bates in the first place? Well, a big reason for this is he was so advanced for his age. As a 7th grader, Emoni was the #1 rated player in his class, averaging 46 points per game. In summer 2018, he played in Nike's EYBL summer circuit. Playing against top competition, he averaged 17 points against players significantly older than him. Remember, he wasn't even in high school at this point. So right away, Emoni Bates was somebody talent evaluators had an eye on. But even the most optimistic scout didn't expect him to be so good so soon. In his high school debut his freshman year, Emoni had 32 points and 15 rebounds, and this was the standard for him throughout the season, leading his school to regional and state titles, even hitting the game-winning shot to make history for his school. Emoni was named Michigan's Gatorade Player of the Year, Freshman of the Year by Max Preps, and 24/7 Sports, one of the leading recruiting sites, said he was possibly the best high school prospect since LeBron James. And this is when he appeared on the front cover of Sports Illustrated. Early 2020, after his childhood idol Kobe Bryant tragically passed, Emoni switched to number 24. Originally, he planned on scoring 24 points as a tribute, but that was too easy and his averages would go down, so he went off for 42 points instead. did. A few weeks later, Emoni set a career high with 63 points and 21 rebounds, all of which were needed in a 6-point win. This was all normal for Emoni Bates. For the season, he averaged 32.3 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists and 2.1 steals per game. He shot above 50% from the field and close to 40% from the 3-point line. At this point, Emoni's talent couldn't be ignored. He didn't only win National Sophomore of the Year from Max Preps, he won the Gatorade National Player of the Year award, not just for Michigan, for the entire country, becoming the youngest player and first sophomore to ever win it. By this point, the basketball world was convinced that Emoni was something special. If he was this good as a sophomore in high school, how good was he going to be in 3 years when he's a rookie in the NBA? How good was he going to be in 2 years when he goes to college? It was this summer that ESPN released a list ranking the top 5 high school players since LeBron James. Kevin Durant was number 1, Greg Oden was number 2, and tied at number 3 was Derrick Rose, Anthony Davis and Emoni Bates. Other than KD and Oden because they were in the same class, every single one of these players went on to be the number 1 pick. Except from Greg Oden because of his injury, every single one became an NBA superstar. Remember, when this list came out, Emoni still had 2 years remaining of high school basketball, and with the trajectory he was on, everybody expected him to be number 1 on the list by the time he graduated. For his junior year, Emoni Bates transferred to a prep school, and in his first game he matched up with Chet Holmgren, the number 1 player in the class above him. Emoni dropped 36 points in this game.
Still continuing to get better at every step along the process.
Here's Bates, pulls the trigger from deep, it hits!
Team sizzles Trae Young, says Chet Holmgren. Well, Donovan Smith living up to it on that pull-up 3.
Bates back the other way, he's got it! It's a 3-point shootout in Michigan.
Specifically to try and protect the ball from Chet, and he still got to it.
Floater somehow goes down for Emoni Bates.
And after another standout season, he was one of the 5 finalists for the Naismith Prep Player of the Year award. However, after this junior season, scouts became a little skeptical of Emoni Bates, suggesting that there had been a roadblock in his development as a player. At the time, people were unsure what to make of this. Was Emoni stagnating, or did he just reach the pinnacle so early and the expectations became unrealistic? Clearly, Emoni was still too good for high school basketball, and it was going to be hard for him to improve playing against players he's simply better than. So he made the brave decision to reclassify from the 2022 to 2021 recruiting class, skipping his senior year of high school and going straight to college. Even in the 2021 class, Bates was still considered a 5-star recruit, and high up on ESPN's top 100 list. He was ranked 3rd ahead of Paolo Banchero at 4, Jabari Smith Jr. at 6 and Jalen Duren at 7. The only 2 players ranked ahead of him were Chet and Jaden Hardy. It's not like his stock totally tanked, he was still seen as a potential number 1 pick, just not the all-time great prospect he was considered previously. Emoni had originally planned to stay local for college. He had offers from both Michigan and Michigan State since his freshman year, having originally committed to Michigan State, becoming the highest recruit to ever commit to the program. But Bates had a change of heart and chose to play at Memphis instead.
5-star wing Emoni Bates has committed to the University of Memphis in what easily the most impressive moment of Penny Hardaway's coaching career at Memphis.
And this decision may be one of the worst he ever made, because to say things didn't go to plan for Emoni Bates in college would be an understatement. Emoni was the youngest player in college basketball at 17 years old, but age doesn't matter, not when you're considered to be a once-in-a-generation type player, and Emoni's freshman season at Memphis was rough to say the least. It couldn't have started any better. In his debut against Tennessee Tech, Emoni had 17 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists on 6 of 9 shooting in a victory. Penny Hardaway's team got off to a 3-0 start, and Emoni was producing, averaging 16 points on 58% shooting from the field and shooting 50% from the perimeter. But from that point onwards, things only got worse. Emoni's debut with 17 points ended up being his season high. He never reached the 20-point mark in a single game despite being such a gifted scorer, and in his next 13 games he averaged 9 points on 35 and 27% shooting splits. Within 2 months, Emoni had gone from a top pick to no longer being on the draft boards. scouts. People were so quick to give up on Emoni Bates after realizing he wasn't quite as good as advertised. He was moved to the bench early on and his freshman season overall was disastrous. He averaged 9.7 points on 38% shooting from the field and 32% from the 3-point line. And all of a sudden, the same people that were calling him the next Kevin Durant were now calling him an inefficient shot chucker. The decision to skip his senior year of high school and go to college was supposed to make Emoni better. Instead, it destroyed his reputation. In hindsight, he would have been much better off staying in high school, dominating weaker competition and protecting his stock. Going into his sophomore season, Emoni decided to enter the transfer portal and returned to his hometown Michigan. But not to the big schools. Michigan State and Michigan, who recruited him in high school, were no longer interested. So Emoni had to settle for Eastern Michigan. It was supposed to be a fresh start, but life back home couldn't have started any worse for Emoni Bates.
Another developing story. Emoni Bates, the former #1 recruit in the 2022 class, was arrested Sunday night in Superior Township, Michigan, after sheriff's deputies discovered a firearm in a vehicle he was driving. Now, Bates, who recently transferred from Memphis to Eastern Michigan, was charged with both carrying a concealed weapon and altering ID marks on a firearm.
This was the nail in the coffin for Emoni's downfall. Things weren't going well on the basketball court, and then he was facing federal charges for allegedly being in possession of a firearm without a license. While Emoni took a plea deal and was able to avoid serving his 5-year sentence, people these days don't care whether you're innocent or guilty, and the fact that he had those charges associated with his name was definitely a deterrent for NBA scouts who might have been interested in drafting him. Emoni took accountability for his mistake and promised to lock in on the basketball from this point forward. And in his first game with Eastern Michigan in the local Michigan rivalry, Emoni reminded everyone that he was still a top young talent.
Eastern Michigan is going to run a ton of ball screen action. Here's Emoni Bates in Detroit. Lovejoy on the run. No, but look at the follow. There goes Lovejoy. He's behind the Bates.
He was on fire this game, dropping 30 points along with 5 rebounds, doing so on incredible efficiency, making 13 of 19 shots and going 3 of 6 from downtown. And this wasn't his only scoring outburst. Not too long after, he went off for 43 points, scoring 29 straight points for Eastern Michigan in the first half. He also had 36 against South Carolina, 35 against Bali State. Sure, he had some bad games too. In totality though, Emoni Bates' performances throughout his sophomore season revived his draft stock. Sure, he was no longer a projected lottery pick or anything like that, but he reminded the basketball world who he was and showcased his immense scoring potential. For the season, he averaged 19.2 points and 5.8 rebounds per game, improving his efficiency too, shooting 40% from the field on the year and 33% from 3-point range. Going into the 2023 NBA draft, Emoni was seen as the biggest wild card, potentially the best low-risk, high-reward prospect. Everybody knew who he was, the potential he once had. Those arguing in favor of him would reference the fact that because he reclassified, this season at Eastern Michigan was really his freshman year, and if in an alternate universe he stayed in high school and this was his first year of college, then he'd still be one of the top picks in the draft. Imagine if, let's say, he'd taken an alternate route, gone to play overtime elite like the Thompson twins who were taken in the top 5. Had he taken that path and continued to dominate inferior competition and maintained his reputation, would he have still been taken as a top pick? These are things people had to consider in the evaluation process because Emoni wasn't your typical prospect. This all set up for a crucial 2023 draft combine, which was going to make or break Emoni's draft stock. And his measurements were incredibly concerning. His 6'9" wingspan was a huge red flag, because usually a player's wingspan is several inches longer than their listed height. For Emoni, it was the exact same at 6'9". He had the shortest wingspan of anybody listed above 6'7". Emoni's hand size was the 3rd smallest among participants. His weight was also a huge deterrent, weighing in at 170 pounds. He was the 4th lightest prospect and pound for pound considered one of the weakest. He had the 3rd lowest sprint times, and even in the vertical jump, he was 6th lowest with just a 32-inch vertical. There were 78 prospects that took part in these workouts, and Emoni was in the bottom 5 for a lot of these categories. But for the most part, these were all things he couldn't control. You can't just give yourself bigger hands, a larger wingspan, or become uber athletic and jump higher than everybody overnight. Where Emoni did impress scouts was the things he could actually control. He shot the lights out in shooting drills, whether shooting off the dribble, shooting while moving, or spotting up. Emoni was top 5 every time, even going 19 for 25 in one shooting drill. After that, it was time to play in scrimmages. Find out what prospect can and can't do what in an actual game setting. And 5-on-5, Emoni Bates did his thing.
The president of basketball operations empowering the coach to be able to display that culture.
Well, and Eric Spoelstra said it best as far as with the turnover and all these things.
I've gotten better, and I like that part about it.
Did you have one guy in the NBA that's...
Then all of a sudden the agents figured it out as far as kind of who's out there, but there's still a tremendous value as far as for these guys out here.
And if there was one play that could sum up Emoni Bates, it was this one. Here he goes, double teamed on the wing, and he takes an off balance, off the dribble step back three. A terrible shot by every mathematical metric, but he made it. Of course he did. And that shot making ability and scoring potential displayed right there is the exact reason why teams were considering taking a chance on him. And one team did.
With the 49th pick in the 2023 NBA Draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers select Emoni Bates from Eastern Michigan University.
The Cleveland Cavaliers selected Emoni Bates with the 49th pick in the second round. If you had said in 2020 that Emoni Bates would still be on the board almost 50 picks in, not a single NBA team would think twice about taking him. The Cavaliers did, and everyone was waiting for NBA Summer League to see what he could do on the court. Emoni joined a stacked Summer League squad featuring Isaiah Mobley, Sharif Cooper and others. It wasn't going to be easy to stand out, and yet Emoni Bates found a way.
What do you mean? Meaning, when he's in a room, no matter who's in there, you just gotta look at him. Perfect timing for our Australian friend. Gets to the rack.
Just when we were talking about that he gets called for bullpen, Bates knocks down a three.
He is not shy, I'll tell you that.
Iron and Cooper will gladly push it. Merrill passed on the shot to Bates for the layup and another nice pass.
Emoni was the starting small forward, dropped 18 points and 6 rebounds in his Summer League debut. He had an efficient game against Memphis, with 21 points and 8 boards on 7 of 11 shooting, hitting 5 free balls.
Incredible programming there they have going on right now.
It's absolutely terrific, and
Emoni Bates, they love what they've seen so far from Emoni Bates.
he does have a really good feel. Knock that thing down.
Is Cleveland now the favorite here in the summer if they hold on and win this game?
Well, now you're asking me to make a pick. The worst thing you have to do with ESPN when you're an analyst is make a pick. Because here's the deal.
Fast forward to the Final Four up against Brooklyn, Emoni came through again, with 20 points and 7 rebounds, going crazy from the 3-point line, hitting 4 of his 5 threes. And then in the championship game against Houston, facing off against tournament MVP Cam Whitmore, Emoni Bates rose to the occasion.
The Rockets 0 for 4 from deep to start the game. Bates pulls. Got it! A sizzling, scintillating beginning, shooting-wise for Cleveland. Couldn't convert. And Porter leading the break. Bates running the floor, slams it home, and says it with his chest. Into the front court. Goes tween, and he got picked clean. Bates. Finger roll. Got it. Whistle. And one. Bates with the bucket and a free throw to follow.
He had 19 points, 5 rebounds and 4 assists in the championship game, helping the Cavaliers win the Summer League championship. Emoni wasn't just a passenger along for the ride. He was one of the standout players in Vegas, making the All-Summer League second team. Remember, this tournament was stacked with talent. Victor Wembanyama, Scoot Henderson, Chet Holmgren, Jabari Smith Jr., Josh Giddey, even LiAngelo Ball was there in the mix. And yet it was Emoni Bates who got his hands on the prize at the end of it. But as we all know, Summer League isn't the NBA, and Emoni Bates still had a long way to go before making the Cavs' final roster. If he was the number 1 pick like he was supposed to be, Emoni would have no trouble getting playing time in the NBA. But because he was drafted so late, he ended up in Cleveland, a very competitive team in the Eastern Conference. Emoni was signed on a 2-way contract, and with Max Strus, DeAndre Hunter and Isaac Okoro occupying the small forward positions, breaking into the rotation wasn't going to be easy. In NBA preseason, fans were calling Emoni the steal of the draft. He came in with a chip on his shoulder and actually led the Cavaliers in preseason scoring during his first 3 games.
He had the shot and he just waited for Tristan, and Tristan sent it back.
Bates, step back.
got it! That looked a lot like the shot that he hit with 11 seconds left in Atlanta.
The double, passes out of it, Wade's there. The shot clock shows 8. Bates going to work on Norris, fires a 3 and hits. Emoni Bates!
Fans were excited and had high hopes for Emoni going into the 2023-24 NBA season, but it didn't happen quite how they'd hoped. Emoni played just 15 games his rookie season and averaged some pretty underwhelming stats, logging an average of 8 minutes, 2.7 points and 0.9 rebounds per game. However, of the 15 games, he only played 10 minutes or more 5 times, 20 or more minutes twice, and while he had okay games, he wasn't consistent enough in the opportunities he got, and with the Cavaliers being the 4th seed last season and making it to the second round of the playoffs, there wasn't any time for development. Where Emoni did show a ton of promise was in the G League with the Cleveland Charge. Emoni hit the ground running right away, averaging 24.8 points, 5.1 rebounds, shooting 46% from the field and 41% from 3-point range. During the G League showcase, one game in particular stood out. That was the Charge's win over the Santa Cruz Warriors, where Emoni Bates had 6 rebounds and 4 assists, while going off for a career-high 38 points.
Charge, front court to the right, left wing, Emoni Bates. Gives it to Osaboyan, right elbow, looking, gives it straight out to Emoni, looks off the D, shoots the 3, swishes the 3. Emoni Bates, first 3 ball tonight. Looking right corner, Emoni Bates, stutter step, shoots the fading 3! Emoni, 5, Charge by 10, under 3 minutes to play. Williams had it, lost it, picked up by Fitz. Here comes Emoni Bates, drives underhand, scoop and score with the left hand. Emoni Bates.
Emoni finished the G League season averaging 21.6 points and 5.7 rebounds while maintaining good efficiency throughout. In the summertime, he rejoined the Cavaliers hoping to defend their title in Vegas, and this time Emoni was the #1 option. He led the team in scoring, averaging 16.3 points per game, started strong with an impressive 20-point performance against the Magic, and then followed that up with 18 points, 6 rebounds and 4 assists in a win over Milwaukee. He even went head-to-head with LeBron James in the Lakers, which was must-see TV.
Look at it, could be worse. I think it's better. Bates over Bronny. How about that? High off the glass for the finger roll. That here in Summer League, and they think that he can be a contributor with the big team. And Bronny knocks it down.
Need to be able to play alongside his son.
We're going to talk about that longevity of LeBron James a little bit later. Just for him to be in a position to play with his son is astounding. And how about the start here for Emoni Bates?
18 on the clock, but it's one of those plays that could come back to bite.
Ronnie with the left, high off the glass, to give the Lakers their first lead.
But this time, the Cavaliers failed to make the knockout round, winning just 1 of their 4 games. A massive fall off from the previous year where they went undefeated, winning 7 out of 7. Emoni's individual Summer League performance was solid though, but he didn't take over the way the Cavs had hoped. Many people went into Vegas expecting him to potentially be MVP of the tournament, and he wasn't close to that. Still, it was only Summer League, and Emoni had the opportunity to prove himself in training camp and preseason, but Bates failed to impress head coach Kenny Atkinson, and getting minutes with the Cavs NBA team has been harder than ever before. Emoni has played 7 times for the Cavs so far, but never for longer than 5 minutes. He spent the majority of the 2024-25 season in the G League, and while he's not playing badly, his numbers across the board are down, averaging 17.4 points, 5.3 rebounds and 1.7 assists per game, while his efficiency isn't looking good. Emoni has shown that there is something there. He is obviously incredibly talented, and I do think the right coach could push him to that next level. So what's the problem with Emoni Bates? Well, I think he's in the wrong situation. Because he was drafted so late, he never got the privilege of going to a bad team and having the freedom to adjust to the NBA on the fly. Even Victor Wembanyama, the #1 pick in his class, took some time to adapt to the NBA, and it wasn't until the second half of his rookie season where he became the two-way superstar that he's grown into. Emoni Bates is a developmental project, a part of a win-now organization. The Cavs are the best they've been since the LeBron years, competing with the Thunder for the best record in the league. Finding a role for Emoni Bates amongst that is the least of their priorities, as they're trying to make a deep playoff run this year. I think Emoni Bates still has the potential to be a valuable NBA player. Regardless of what people say about his athleticism, weight or wingspan, he was once considered a generational prospect for a reason. He possesses skills that can't be taught, and if he's going to reach his full potential in the NBA, I think he needs to leave Cleveland. Cleveland, because he's always been a star. At every level he's ever played, he's had the ball in his hands. In order to be effective, he has to have the green light to shoot his shots. That is simply never going to happen for him in Cleveland when you have an established core in Mobley, Mitchell and Garland. It's a hard adjustment to make, having been the star your entire life to suddenly having to find a role within an offense. He has shown he can be effective in Summer League playing alongside top talent. It's not like he has to shoot the ball every time. He's shown that he can be a winning player too, capturing the title in Vegas and the various other titles he won in high school. What I think Emoni Bates needs is to be in a low stakes environment, somewhere like Charlotte, Utah or Washington, where a team for an extended time period features him in a large role and finds out whether or not he's got what it takes to be a star. I don't think Emoni is somebody you can treat like a typical second round pick. He's been told his entire life he's the next LeBron James, so suddenly expecting him to fit in is just unrealistic. He's hardwired to stand out. People forget Emoni is still only 21 years old. He's fully committed to the game and is a hard worker, gaining 20 pounds since his rookie season. He hasn't lost any confidence in his abilities. His pinned tweet is a reminder to everyone that he shocked the world once and he'll do it again. The sad reality though is that if he doesn't, he will go down as possibly the greatest high school player to ever fail in the NBA. There have been a lot of busts, a lot of top high school players that didn't work out, but most of them became decent bench players in the NBA. Never have we seen a player this highly regarded be in a situation where he's too good for the G League but not good enough for the NBA. If you have some other examples of players that were supposed to be this good who failed to even make the league, share them down below in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, I'm sure you will enjoy our last video talking about Mac McClung, the dunk contest GOAT and another G League star who struggled to find a place in the NBA despite being MVP of the G League. Click the big box in the middle of your screen to watch that, subscribe and turn on notifications and like the video to support the channel. And on that note, is DKM signing out until next time, and peace.